Hello. Today our group will be talking about Pablo Larraín's film No, which is about the Chilean plebiscite of 1988. In the film, art forms such as film, music, and editing can be used as a weapon by the people, regardless of their status, to change their social political environments through the patterns of consumer culture. In order to understand how art can change a political environment, we must first talk about who's actually creating the art. The film does a great job at emphasizing who's actually changing the political environment, and it's not the politicians, but the artists within the community. Our main protagonist of the film and the core of the No campaign is René Saavedra, a standstill character with a very future-focused mindset who uses his advertising experience in collaboration with creativity to sell a future. The rendering of his character in this film is intentional, for he is a representation of Chile's people. From the very beginning of the film, we see René in casual street clothes, wearing a jacket and jeans while riding a skateboard. This tells us right off the bat that he's not elite. He's a father. He has a young boy around the age of 10. This gives René a reason to think about the future and in turn gives him something to fight for. But the most important trait of René's character is that he works in advertising, creating commercials for big corporations, because this allows him to make connections between consumer culture and the voting system. René understands that consumer culture is manipulation and the only way to change Chile is to sell that change. We see René's advertising and consumer culture expertise play out 3 times in the film. The first time, he's pitching a soda to a company. The second time, he's using the same exact advertising and consumer culture tactics to sell the future of Chile for the No campaign. And the third time, he comes full circle and once again pitches another product for a company. And it plays out like this.
Bueno, antes que nada quería mencionarles que lo que van a ver a continuación está enmarcado dentro del actual contexto social. Nosotros creemos que el país está preparado para una comunicación de esta naturaleza.
Absolutamente.
No hay que olvidar que la ciudadanía ha subido sus exigencias en torno a la verdad, en torno a lo que les gusta. Seamos honestos. Hoy, Chile piensa en su futuro. Antes que nada, quisiera decirles que lo que van a ver a continuación está enmarcado dentro del actual contexto social. Después de todo, hoy, Chile piensa en su futuro. Quería mencionar, antes que nada, que lo que van a ver ustedes a continuación está enmarcado dentro del actual contexto social.
Sí.
Nosotros creemos que el país está preparado para una comunicación de esta naturaleza.
Absolutamente.
Seamos honestos. Hoy, Chile piensa en su futuro.
Not all people in Chile had the same attributes as René, which is why René is at the forefront of our movie. He is our motif that symbolizes change. In order to change Chile, the film takes us through the analysis of Chile's fears. There is a massive loss of faith from the people. The people running the No campaign themselves didn't believe that they could win the plebiscite. They believed un milagro, a divine act, was needed to win. Amongst the people's fears were the fears of economic crisis, a rigged election, and a return to socialism. This is where creativity comes in and where René and the community of artists come in.
Hello, I will be talking about the color difference between the Yes campaign video and the No campaign video. The Yes campaign video supports the dictator Pinochet. The campaign video leads into a depressing and desaturated visual tone. The No campaign video is the complete opposite. It bursts with color using saturated reds, blues, and yellows. Also cannot forget about the rainbow. Not only do the visuals imply freedom, they breathe it, expressing happiness, hope, and joy through every shot.
Hasta cuando ya de abusos es el tiempo de cambiar.
serias, voy a decir que no.
The difference between the two campaign videos is the contrast on how color becomes symbolic by establishing a clear line between oppression and possibility. To make things clearer, the Yes campaign video highlights a frightening past while the No campaign expresses a bright and free future. Furthermore, both campaigns use artistic strategies to shape public opinion. For example, the film's technique to produce documentary aesthetics such as grainy footage, handheld camera movement, and crowds of real people, ultimately blurring the line between fiction and history. The campaign's video editing techniques are just as powerful. The No campaign video uses rapid cuts, a catchy song, and focus on upbeat pacing to really energize the viewers.
Quiero que florezcan mil maneras de pensar, porque sin la dictadura la alegría va a llegar, porque pienso en el futuro, voy a decir que no. Vamos a decir que no, oh, con la fuerza de mi voz. Vamos a decir que no, oh, yo lo canto sin temor. Vamos a decir que no, oh, todos juntos a triunfar. Vamos a decir que no, por la vida y por la paz. Vamos a decir que no.
On the other hand, the Yes campaign video has a slow pace, has little editing, and mainly showcases the past. Overall, No uses color not just as a style, but as a persuasive tool, a visual language that tells the audiences that change is not only possible, it's beautiful.
Throughout the entirety of No, the audience is set to anticipate the results of a political election. However, what made this election stand out from others is not only its importance in Chilean history, but also the way the citizens of Chile, specifically the mere bystanders, were witnessing the two political options, yes or no, battle it out on their screens at home. The No side focused on real-world issues that were happening because of the dictatorship, and trying their best to be informative. They would depict how voting No would be in favor of Chile's citizens and allow them to live in a different, more democratic political climate. Although they had focused on broadcasting the constant violence and kidnappings, René Saavedra, as pictured in the film, realized that although their commercials were true, they left audiences feeling very gloomy and hopeless. They had to alter their commercials in order to appeal to a wider audience and have them more excited about a change in their futures, instead of trying to convince a specific demographic. The creation of a simple yet effective logo helped start the movement as they began airing the uplifting and deep commercials to daily broadcasts. On the other hand, while No kept continuing on spreading their message while keeping happy undertones, the Yes side, instead of focusing on the future, focused on the past and the present of what the dictatorship gave to Chilenos, while completely ignoring the brutality that was occurring. Instead of creating proper rebuttals to the points the No side was giving, they instead began to ridicule them, creating parodies of the commercials the No side had made, and even going out of their way to send people to stop tapes from being broadcasted. Time and time again, the dictatorship of the Yes side continued to focus on their image instead of their campaign and the citizens of Chile. The No created skits as their commercials, one skit being of a man and a woman in bed, with the undertones of the same being that the man wants to have intercourse while the woman does not. As she is constantly telling him no, the man agrees with her, and that is that. The commercial not only promoted voting no, but it also helped spread awareness of consent. The Yes parodied this skit, with the woman at first saying no, but then changing her mind to yes, and ultimately giving in to the pressure, sending a disturbing and confusing message. The No side created a viral music video in which they pictured people celebrating and freely expressing themselves in a happier life in Chile after voting no. However, the Yes parodied this by having people dressed up as vandals that sang along to the viral music video while making the claim that Marxism hides within the No group. With Pinochet's immature choices for his advertising campaign, it's no question as to why he was not a right fit to be a leader. Not only did both sides of the campaign utilize different tactics and forms of art, but the way they directed their creative decisions highlights the effectiveness of art and the message it sends. The different elements of art, as previously mentioned, were utilized to determine the future of Chileans living in that time and the Chilenos that would come after them.